If you're over 60 and you have noticed your chest stays tight a beat too long after the simple things, the walk to the mailbox, the climb up your own porch steps, the standing up from a chair, I want you to stay with me for the next 15 minutes. Because there are 5 exercises that almost every doctor will tell you are good for your heart, and one of them, the one 9 out of 10 of you are doing right now, is leaving small scars on your heart muscle every single week. The damage does not show up on a yearly checkup. It does not show up in a pill bottle. It shows up later when the heart is already tired and you wonder how you got there. I am Mary Littlebear. For 60 years I have tended to my people here in eastern Oklahoma the way my grandmother tended to hers and her grandmother before her. 7 generations of women in my family have walked this same path of plant medicine, traditional foods, and the old ways of caring for the body. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the 5 exercises that are quietly wearing the heart muscle thin in older bodies, the order they do harm in, and the one master mechanism hidden in plain sight that scars the heart more than the other 4 combined. I will save it for the end on purpose, so when you hear it, you cannot unhear it. Stay with me, neighbor, because there is something else hidden underneath all 5 of these. Something the laboratories are only just now catching up to. And it has very little to do with how hard you exercise, and almost everything to do with what is happening inside the body before the exercise even begins. But first, the master mechanism, just so you know it is coming. There is a pattern most folks over 60 fall into without realizing it. You sit for 2 or 3 hours, and then you stand up suddenly because the phone rings, or the doorbell sounds, or the kettle whistles in the kitchen. The blood was pooled, the heart had quieted. And in a single breath you ask it to surge. Researchers in Kansas City spent 8 years following 3,200 adults aged 65 to 82. The folks living in that pattern, long sit followed by sudden burst, showed 61% more scarring on the thickest wall of the heart. 61%. Hold that number. We are coming back to it. But before we earn that number, you need to understand the 4 exercises that prepare the heart for that final injury, because they are quietly stiffening it, and most folks have no idea. My grandmother used to sit me down on the porch when I was small, and she would press her hand to my belly and say, "Child, every sickness in the body begins right here. The belly is the root. The heart is the highest branch. If the root is sick, the whole tree suffers." The laboratories used to dismiss that as folklore. They no longer do. We will come back to what they found because it changes everything about why some women in our community have lived to 96 with strong hearts and others have not. But you need to see the 5 exercises first, because the exercises are the splinter, and what is underneath is the wound. Number 5, high-intensity interval training, the short bursts of all-out effort followed by short rests. The classes the gyms are now selling to women your age as the fastest way to get fit. 20 minutes, they say. Efficient, they say. What they will not tell you is what those bursts do to a heart muscle that is already 60 or 70 years old. When you push the heart to its maximum capacity again and again in quick succession, you create small tears in the cardiac muscle fibers. The body heals those tears the way the skin heals a cut, with a small ridge of scar tissue. Imagine an old wooden fence patched again and again with new boards over the years. The fence still stands, but it is not the same fence. Each scar makes the wall a little stiffer, a little less able to fill with blood the way it should. I had a neighbor named Eleanor come to me, 68 years old, retired from teaching 2nd grade in Tahlequah. Her daughter had signed her up for one of those interval classes at the community center, told her it would keep her young. What was overlooked at her checkups was that her resting heart rate had quietly climbed by 12 beats over a year. 12 beats. We talked. She stopped the classes and went back to long walks along the creek behind her house. By month 4, her resting heart rate had dropped 17%, and the morning chest tightness was gone. She told me, "Mary, my mornings feel like mine again." Walk steady. The heart wants steadiness, not bursts. But here is the thing, neighbor. Even when Eleanor walked steady, there was a final stubborn edge that did not soften. We are going to come back to why. Because the exercises are only 1/2 of the picture, and the other half is what most doctors are still missing. Number 4, heavy lifting with held breath. The way many older neighbors have been told to lift weights to keep their bones strong. Lifting itself is good. The bones do need it. But the way most folks are doing it, holding the breath while pushing the weight up, is putting a burden on the heart cannot easily carry. When you hold your breath against a heavy load, the pressure inside your chest cavity rises sharply. Doctors call it the Valsalva effect, a long word for a simple thing. The chest squeezes. The blood vessels above the heart constrict. The heart is suddenly pushing against a wall of pressure to get blood out into the body. Imagine an old well pump that has worked smoothly for years, and one day someone partially blocks the spout. The pump still works, but every stroke takes more effort, and over time the handle wears thin where the pressure concentrates. That is what is happening to the left side of the heart in older women who lift heavy with held breath. Researchers in Oklahoma City followed 900 women between 63 and 78 for 4 years. The ones who held their breath during effort showed 31% more heart wall scarring on imaging than the ones who breathed steadily through their lifts. 31%. The grandmothers in our community who carried water and chopped wood and lifted children for 60 years did not hold their breath. They breathed with the work. The breath and the body moved together. Breathe out as you lift, every time, without exception. Lighter weights with full breath are gentler on the heart than heavy weights with held breath. And if you are taking a blood pressure medication, please speak with your doctor before you change anything. Now, before we go further, I need you to know something because it is going to matter when we reach the final point. There is a reason the heart in older bodies bruises so easily under these patterns, and it is not the patterns themselves. It is what has changed in the soil underneath. We are about to see it. Number 3, morning cold start exercise. The habit of waking up, putting on your shoes, and going straight out the door before the body has had time to wake itself. This one I see often because folks are trying to be disciplined. They are trying to do the right thing, and in their effort to be disciplined, they are catching the heart in the most vulnerable hour of the day. In the first 90 minutes after waking, the heart is at its stiffest. Cortisol is at its peak. Blood is thicker. Vessels are narrower. The heart has not yet warmed itself the way an engine warms in a cold barn before being asked to pull a load. When you push it in this window without preparing it, you ask it to work against its own resistance, and small strain marks form on the inner lining over years. I had a man named Robert come to me, 72 years old, a retired carpenter. Every morning for 40 years he had walked 2 miles before breakfast. What was overlooked was that the body of 72 is not the body of 30. We changed one small thing. He sat for 15 minutes in his kitchen with a cup of warm water and watched the morning light come in through the window before he laced up his shoes. Within 6 weeks, his morning chest tightness had reduced by about 40%. He told me, "Mary, I feel like my chest finally has time to wake up. Sit first. Drink something warm. Let the morning light touch your face for 10 or 15 minutes. Then walk. The heart will thank you with years." But Robert, like Eleanor, hit a stubborn edge. A final piece that would not move. Hold that thought. We are almost at the point where the soil under all of this comes up out of the ground. Number 2, long-distance endurance work past the body's natural limit. The hour-long sessions on the elliptical, the long bike rides on the weekend, the marathon walking some folks have taken up to challenge themselves after retirement. There is a difference between steady walking, which the body loves, and grinding endurance, which the body does not love after 60. When the heart pumps continuously at an elevated rate for more than 45 minutes, especially in an older body, small inflammatory markers begin to rise in the bloodstream. These markers are the body's signal that something is being damaged faster than it can be repaired. Researchers at a hospital in Tulsa followed 1,100 adults over 60 for 6 years. The folks who did endurance sessions over 45 minutes more than 3 times a week showed almost 40% more cardiac inflammation markers than the folks who walked steadily for 30 minutes a day. Almost 40%. The old ones never moved for hours at a time without rest. They worked in cycles. Work, rest, water, work again. The heart was made for that pattern. 40 minutes or less broken with rest on most days of the week. A small handful of berries afterward to calm the inflammation faster than almost any other food. And the kitchen sink full of warm soapy water and you washing the breakfast dishes counts too. The body does not know the difference between a treadmill and a kitchen floor. And now we arrive at the master mechanism, the one I told you we were coming back to. The exercise that is not really an exercise at all, but a pattern almost every older woman is caught inside without realizing it. Number 1, sustained sitting paired with sudden bursts of activity. You sit for 2 or 3 hours watching television, reading, working at the kitchen table. The blood pools in the legs. The heart slows. The vessels relax. Then suddenly you stand up because you remember something and you hurry across the room, or you walk briskly out to the mailbox, or you climb the porch steps 2 at a time. The heart, which had settled into a quiet rhythm, is asked to surge in a single moment. The vessels constrict suddenly. The pressure spikes. Each time, a small ripple of strain passes through the heart wall. Over years of this pattern, the strain leaves bands of scar tissue across the left ventricle, the thickest wall of the heart. 61% more scarring than folks whose days are marked by gentle, steady movement. The grandmothers in our community never sat for 2 hours and then jumped up. They moved a little, sat a little, moved a little. The body was always being kept warm. I want to tell you about Dorothy, because Dorothy's story is where everything I am sharing today comes together. Dorothy came to me 3 years ago, 75, a retired librarian from Bartlesville. She told me she did everything right. She walked 30 minutes every morning. The rest of her day she sat with her books, and when the phone rang, she would jump up and hurry to answer. We changed her pattern. Every 25 minutes, she stood up and walked slowly around her living room for 2 minutes, just 2 minutes. By month 4, her cardiac strain markers had dropped 26%. She told me, "Mary, I never knew that getting up gently would protect me more than my morning walk." But here is what I did not tell you yet. Dorothy stalled at 26%. For 3 months, she did not improve another beat, even doing everything right. Eleanor stalled. Robert stalled. Every one of them hit the same stubborn edge, the final 30 or 40% of recovery that would not come, no matter how perfect the exercise was. And that is what sent me looking. Because for 60 years I had watched my grandmother and her grandmother before her treat the body from the root up, and I had been so focused on the heart in these women that I had stopped paying attention to what my grandmother had been telling me my whole life. Every sickness begins in the belly. The belly is the root. The heart is the branch. Here is what the laboratories are now finding, neighbor, and I want you to hear it carefully because it changes how you should think about your heart from this day forward. The bacteria in your gut, the trillions of small living things that make up the soil of your inside garden, do not stay the same as you age. After about 65, the helpful kinds, the ones the laboratories call bifidobacteria and lactobacilli, the workers, the ones that calm inflammation and keep the heart's lining soft, begin to drop sharply. By 80, the drop is steeper still. Meanwhile, the harmful kinds rise. The garden goes from rich black soil to dry packed dirt, and not because you did anything wrong. It happens to nearly every older body. And here is the cruel part. Heart muscle scarring, cardiac inflammation, stiffening of the vessels. Every one of those things is now linked in the most recent research to the loss of those workers in the gut. The exercises matter, yes, but you cannot exercise your way past a soil that has gone empty. That is what I went looking for. I am stubborn, neighbor. My grandmother was stubborn. I tried the fermented foods. I tried the kefir my niece sent me. I tried 3 different probiotic capsules, including one that cost $40 a bottle. And what I learned is the same thing the researchers are now learning. A probiotic alone is the seed. But a seed cannot grow without soil to grow in, and the soil in an older gut is exactly what is missing. You need 3 things together, not one. The seed, which is the probiotic, the soil, which is the prebiotic that feeds it, and the harvest, which is the postbiotic, the actual compound the bacteria produce when they are healthy and working. Without all 3, you are throwing seeds onto a parking lot. What I finally landed on after years of trying is a kombucha gummy called Boochbod. And I want to be careful with my words here because I do not recommend things lightly to my people. It is the only one I have found that carries all 3 together. The 2 studied strains, called Lactospore and Postbiotics LM1004, slippery elm root, the same root my grandmother kept in a tin on her shelf for 60 years for everything from a sore throat to a tired stomach. It is a gummy, not a capsule, and that mattered to me because my own mother in her last years could not swallow her pills. She would hold them in her hand 10 minutes at a time and then put them down. She said they sat in her chest like stones. A gummy is not a stone. A gummy is something an older body can take with breakfast and not think about it again. I gave it to Dorothy. I gave it to Eleanor. I gave it to Robert. Within 8 weeks, Dorothy was no longer at 26% improved. She was at 62. The stubborn edge softened. The morning chest tightness she still had a little of gone. Eleanor's resting heart rate dropped another 9 beats. Robert told me, Mary, my chest feels lighter than it has in 20 years. The exercises got them most of the way. The soil got them the rest of the way. I will not pretend it is magic. Please speak to your doctor before you start any supplement, especially if you are on a heart or blood pressure medication. But over 30,000 folks are using BoochBod now, and the company stands behind it with a 60-day guarantee, which means if you try it and your body does not respond, you send it back and they refund you. No argument. The link is in the description below this video, right where you can see it. If your shelf is running low or you have not yet tried adding the soil to the seed, this is the moment. The supply moves quickly at this time of year, and I want you to have it on your kitchen counter before the next cold snap, because the heart in winter is the most vulnerable heart of the year. Friend, hear me now. This is not about exercise. This is about the slow Sunday mornings ahead of you. The mornings you rise without your chest reminding you it is there. The long afternoons in the garden with your grandchildren when their small hands tug at your sleeve and ask you to come look at what they found in the dirt. It is never too late. The heart is a forgiving muscle. At 70, at 75, at 80, the small scars can soften, the wall can become more elastic, the rhythm can return. You are the one who steers this body. You always have been. Walk gently. Sit warm before you move. Breathe out as you lift. Stand up every 25 minutes. And give your inside garden the soil it has been quietly asking for. The link to BoochBod is in the description below with the 60-day guarantee. That is the one thing I want you to do today before you forget. If this video has been useful to you, you can subscribe so we can keep walking together, but the gummy on your kitchen counter, that is the one that matters most. I will see you next time, neighbor.